Yes, a very good afternoon to you, and you are welcome to Hastings Insurance McHale Park here in Castlebar. It is the Impressive setting for the second of this year's Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Football Championship semi-finals as Castlebar, Mitchels and Westport prepare to renew rivalries once more. 3 teams left now in the race for the Moclair Cup. Ballina Stephenites have already beaten Ballintubber. They're back in a county senior final for the first time since 2007. We're going to find out over the next hour or more who will join them. Will it be the sleeping giants of Castlebar Mitchels, or can Westport get back to a county senior final for the first time since 1991? All will be revealed this afternoon. Westport, the raging hot favourites. Castlebar Mitchels, right where they want to be. Underdogs, outsiders, 2-1 to cause an upset and go back to a county final. Now, before we hear from my co-commentator, who is alongside me here in the main stand, John Maughan, let's take a quick check on the teams. There are changes on both sides, and we'll start with the home side, as it were, Castlebar Mitchels, and their joint managers, Barry Moran and Neil Lydon. Well, they've made 2 late changes to the team listed in the match programme. Number 20, Bob Toohey, and number 18, Emmett Murphy, into the starting 15, with Conor Stenson and Mark Cunningham, the 2 players who drop out. So Rory Byrne starts in goal. It's a full back line of Sean Morahan, Joe Toohey and Donnie Newcombe. A half back line of Michael Fahy, Ger McDonough and Donncha McHugh. Paddy Durkin is named alongside Anthony O'Boyle in the middle of the field. Ultan O'Reilly wears 10, Ethan Gibbons 11, and Bob Toohey slots in at left half forward, while up front it's a full forward line of Gavin Durkin, Paddy Heenahan and Emmett Murphy. But we would expect Mitchels to set up a little differently once the ball is thrown in. On the Westport side, well, their manager Martin Connolly has sprung 1 late change. He has substituted youth for experience. Kevin Kane, wearing 22, will start for Westport, and Finbar McLaughlin, the teenager, drops out at corner forward. So Paddy O'Malley then in goal. It's a full back line of Luke Tunney, Rory Brickenden and Niall McManaman, the joint captain. Liam Shevlin, Brian McDermott and Paul Lambert are in the half back line. Lee Keegan is alongside Brian O'Malley in the middle of the field. Conal Dawson, Fionn McDonough and Oisin McLaughlin, the other joint captain, make up the half forward line, with Kevin Kane, Mark Moran and Pat Lambert listed in the full forward line. Our match referee is Declan Corcoran from Island 80. He's a man with a lot of big game experience. He's refereed county senior finals in the past. His linesmen, John Finn from Ahamore and Paul Lydon from Kilchuma. John Maughan alongside me. John, I know you weren't overly impressed with the fare on offer in the first semi-final, but you're expecting much better from the second game.
I think this is an intriguing encounter. Fascinating is how a couple of my friends have described it to me a few moments ago. Really, I've been really impressed with Westport in the early rounds of the championship. Didn't cover themselves in glory or didn't enhance their reputation with their last game out, quarter-final victory over Gary Moore. They were quite lucky on that instance. But Mitchels really caught my eye with a very impressive performance, and they against Knockmore 2 weeks ago, they were really, really impressive. Ethan Gibbons put on a tour de force, kicking 7 points, and he was really, really exciting the last day. So it's set up for a right good cracking game. The conditions are perfect. We're in the stand because we were anticipating and expecting heavy rain here this afternoon, but it's absolutely perfect. Pitch isn't great, Nick, out there, and I just hope that it is better. The first game was exciting so far. It was quite close and we had lots of scores, but it never really took off for me at the previous semi-final, and Ballina didn't really enhance their reputation anyway. But let's hope we have a good game of football here. I really am expecting a right cracker.
Well, we'll have the national anthem in just a moment, but you couldn't help but smile. I hear Johnny Hopkins on the PA telling us that there's a car blocking the Ballina Stephenites team bus. They can't get out, they can't get home, they can't begin their recovery ahead of the county final in 2 weeks' time. I wouldn't be one bit surprised, John, if Pádraig O'Hora jumped out and took care of that himself. He took care of everything else earlier on.
I have to say, he's been described very often as a warrior. He is incredible, and I have to say he's carrying that Ballina team on his back. He was just immense there today, and his reputation has gone way up. His stock is improving, if that's possible. But I have to say Ballina are half a team without him. I was hugely impressed with him in particular, and of course Frank Irwin in the middle of the field was really impressive for Ballina. But it's a game that Ballinturber could have won. I felt unfortunate they conceded 3 poor enough goals, but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of pressure on Ballina. A lot of people have them back to win the county championship this year. They have a lot of young talent, and but today they just didn't really fire. But they're in a county final, and it'll be interesting to see if the favourites Westport come through here to meet them in that final. But it's all set up. As I say, looking forward to a good game. You mentioned there a few moments ago, Kevin Kane starts after a long injury. He did come on for a little cameo above in Ballinrobe 2 weeks ago, but he's an experienced guy. I expect he'd probably line up at 14. But and of course I do expect Leroy Keegan and Paddy Durkin to maybe. I expect that'll be a match-up, and they will probably nullify each other. I'm not quite sure if Castlebar and Mitchels have sufficient firepower up front. If Ethan Gibbons fails to fire, I'm just wondering where the scores will come from, because and the way they're set up, they're playing a very defensive style. But it's intriguing nonetheless.
Well, the two teams absolutely chomping at the bit. They've been waiting for the national anthem for the last minute or so. Now that time has come around, so we'll pause for our round of Ian. Well, whatever about anything else, you won't be lacking for atmosphere wherever you're watching the match around the country or around the world this afternoon. We are sitting quite literally in the belly of the beast here in the middle of the main stand. The main stand that's almost full to the rafters. There's a huge crowd in for this double-header of Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club football semi-finals. And now the stage cleared and the scene set for the second. Castlebar against Westport. They meet every other week, right up through the grades, in West finals, in county semi-finals and finals, and here they are in a senior championship semi. For everything to gain and so much to lose, Westport, the unbackable, raging hot favourites to go back to a county senior final for the first time since 1991. Mitchels, well, they've been there, they've done that, and they will feel they can very much do it again. Away we go. Mitchels in the first half, they'll play from right to left. First shot at goal in anger comes from Bob Toohey, the Mayo under-20 of last season, and that shot flies high away to the left and wide. Conditions, we don't want to jinx it, but right now, almost perfect. Few dark clouds overhead, all right. Little or no breeze. The flags down at pitch side aren't fluttering at all. The flags up behind Rory Byrne's goal just being caught by a light breeze as Westport secure possession from their own kick out, and Lee Keegan delivers it diagonally in towards his old sparring partner Kevin Kane. Great to see him back starting for Westport again. Missed almost a year of football with an ACL injury. He's had a few of them over the last 4 or 5 seasons. The former county full-back, but stationed in the Westport forward line as Mitchels try to come out of their own defence for the first time in the game. Ball clipped forward into Paddy Heenahan's path, hand in the air to claim the mark, instead decides to play on. Nice ball popped in front of the runner. It's laid off to Donncha McHugh. McHugh's snapshot had Paddy O'Malley backpedaling for a moment, but O'Malley rediscovers his composure, and away goes Lee Keegan in the running for a 6th All-Star later this month, as Fionn McDonough gets its hands on the ball away over on the far side. Well, we had plenty of goals, 4 of them, in fact, to liven up the first semi-final. Short odds on seeing 4 goals here, though, because believe it or not, Castlebar Mitchels haven't scored a goal or conceded a goal yet in the championship, while Westport haven't conceded one and didn't hit the net in either of their last 2 matches either. So based on all of that, John Mahan, you'd imagine scores in general will be hard to come by, but a goal will be like a hen's tooth.
Absolutely, yeah. As I say, the way Castlebar and Mitchels in particular set up, they're very defensive. They had Westport have already had a kick out, and the Mitchels conceded the kick out. They all retreated to the halfway line, so you can see quite clearly that's their strategy again here this afternoon as they set up against Knockmore. Very similar, very defensive.
So Westport will be patient. Conall Dawson hit 5 points in the quarter-final against Gary Moore. And with Martin Connolly managing Westport and Shane Conway, their head coach, Kieran Gerrity and Pat Grady involved as well, you can be sure that Westport will have worked through this scenario over the last few weeks. They'll know what was coming. They'll know what was ahead of them. And just as I said, they've coughed up the ball. Fionn McDonough there blinked. And Mitchels, who were well set, turn the ball over, and Paddy Heenahan will try and carry it forward over on the far side, the McHale Road side of the field. Just one man ahead of him. Instead waits for the support of Gavin Durkin. Ball is in the hands now of Anthony O'Boyle. Here's Sean Morahan. He really has been one of the stars of the championship. The teenager made a name for himself as a county minor a few years ago, and has really slotted in seamlessly to the Mitchels' defence. And they'll have a free in here and a chance for the man of the moment, John, Ethan Gibbons.
Yeah, I mean, his striking the last day against Knockmore was hugely impressive. He landed 7. And this is he's kicked out, he's drawn it wide. That's not a great effort from Ethan. He'd be disappointed. But here again, a Westport kick out. All Mitchells down behind the 45. In fact, they had all 15 in their own half of the field last time Westport came up the field.
Well, it's hard to pick out too many matchups just yet because the way the 2 teams are setting up. But I can tell you, Donnacha McHugh has gone with Mark Moore, and Paddy Durkin is shadowing Fionn McDonough. And in on the edge of the square, the two warriors, the 2 big units, Ger McDonough and Kevin Kane, are getting to know each other on the edge of the square. They go back a long way. In fact, I think they may have played county minor against each other many moons ago. But right now, both teams are more or less mirroring each other. When Westport are out of possession, they're dropping everybody back, or almost everybody. Mitchels likewise. And it's led to a stalemate, an arm wrestle. Still very early stages as Declan Corcoran just lets Sean Morahan know he was watching and jots the number of the Mitchells, number 2 in his book, because he tugged the jersey of Oisin McLaughlin. That's another matchup, actually, John, to watch for. Yeah, 2 speed merchants.
Well, Oisin McLaughlin has been absolutely very, very impressive. He's against Gary Moore. He was super. I think he scored 5 on that occasion and gave a little bit of a lesson to whether Hessian was picking him up for Gary Moore into Hessian, and he's been fantastic for Westport this championship.
Well, the Mayo management team are here en masse again today watching. I saw Donny Buckley, Stephen Rochford, Damien Mulligan watching the first semi-final just up behind us in the stand. And if Oisin McLaughlin puts down a good performance here today, then you'd imagine he will be included in that first Mayo squad that will go back training next month. So we're still waiting for this second semi-final to open up. Mitchell's attack through Gavin Durkin, loose hand pass intercepted by Liam Shevlin. And that reminds me, John, to mention what a loss young Joe Grady is to the Westport defence. We just heard last week he went off injured in the closing stages of the Gary Moore game. Turned out to be quite a serious knee injury. He was absolutely brilliant in the sweeper role, and a big loss.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a huge loss, as is Owen McLaughlin. They're huge losses for Westport. But Westport have a conveyor belt of young talent. I was involved in Mitchels for a number of seasons, and they have a conveyor belt of young footballers coming through the system, and but nonetheless the experience of Owen McLaughlin in particular and Joe Grady, huge.
So we're in the 7th minute. Ethan Gibbons tries to get turned, but 2 Westport defenders waiting for him, Brian McDermott and Rory Brickenden. And I think that's a taste of what's to come for Ethan.
Oh yeah, roadblocks all over the place. Like, I mean, both teams are just getting huge numbers back, and it's going to be, like, I mean, the way it has opened up here, scores are going to be very few and far between. And look at here we are now, Mitchels retreating en masse. Both teams deploying sweepers and getting numbers back. So hang in there. It might be a while before we see a score.
Well, word coming through that the senior championship relegation playoff between the Neil and Davits has gone to penalties. So it'll take a penalty shootout to decide who stays senior, who goes intermediate. Not quite as exciting here just yet, but still very early days. Lee Keegan, that little goose step to try and lose the defender. Nice 1-2 with Shevlin. Keegan in his stride, on the run and over the bar. Who else but Lee Keegan to open the scoring in the second of the senior semi-finals?
Yeah, I mean, that guy has some engine and the pace. He just pulled the choke there, left the Castlebar defence for dead, and that's the class he has. That's just hugely impressive from one of the best footballers in the country.
So 8 minutes gone. Westport, the favourites, lead by 1. Niall McManaman to Fionn McDonough, just in the shadow of the stand here. McManaman has continued his run. Instead, it's popped to Pat Lambert, but now Niall McManaman gets involved. Conal Dawson, he's in that pocket of space that he loves to shoot from. Beautiful strike, beautiful score. Dawson makes it look easy.
Yeah, another man that was hugely impressive against Gary Moore, and that's a sweet score. He just sat back in the pocket and just clipped over a lovely sweet point with his left foot. Very impressive from Westport, just proving they are the favourites and they can certainly score.
Well, that now means Mitchells just have to come out and play a little. They've fallen 2 points behind. They really have done just enough in the championship so far. The Mitchells, they beat Charlestown and Knockmore by a point, beat Davits by 2 points, and drew with Gary Moore. They have just been rolling along, making progress slowly and steadily. But that win over the county champions in the quarter-final, that was their statement win. Ethan Gibbons just muscled out of it there, ball turned over, and Kevin Kane will set Westport moving in the right direction. Mark Moran, he's looking to play the pass to Oisin McLaughlin. It was cut off the first time. Now McLaughlin manages to lose the defender just for long enough to get on the ball. Here's Dawson. You can see what he was thinking. So did the cornerback Donny Newcomb, and that block took the sting out of the shot, and out comes Rory Byrne to claim the loose ball. But Dawson is a shoot-on-sight merchant, and Donny Newcomb, the designated man marker in that Mitchell's defence, he's gone with the young teenager, at least for these early stages. Now a chance maybe for Mitchell's here to work something up at the other end. Gavin Durkin, quick hands from O'Boyle, back to Ethan Gibbons. He's a lovely, sweet striker of a ball. 7 in the quarter-final. That's his first today. Yeah,
that's a fantastic score. He hasn't started off brilliantly well. He's been shoved off the ball. I tell you, when he gets a bit of room, he's proved it there with that score. He's a sweet peg, left and right foot. That's very impressive from him.
So after a very cagey and tentative first 6 or 7 minutes, the game just starts to stretch a little. Fionn McDonough just has dropped a little deeper than you might expect in these early stages. Now Keegan scanning the horizon. Mitchells have got their sweeper in position. Donny Newcomb, in any event, cut out the pass. Sweeper wasn't needed. It's Michael Fahy who's sitting in front of Kevin Kane as Mitchells tried to come down the centre. Donny Newcomb. Man available here to his left is Sean Morahan. You'll see him wearing 2, but that means very little. Lovely ball. He's looking for the run, and he very nearly found it. That was Michael Fahy who burst a gut to get forward there up from the half-back line. But Morahan just showing what he can do.
Oh, that was a fantastic ball. Like, I mean, certainly half a goal chance there. But it was a sweet pass from a young lad who is really impressed in this championship. Yeah, that guy can play. Sean Morahan, a very, very talented prospect for hopefully for bigger days ahead, maybe in a Mayo jersey.
So Westport back, of course, in a semi-final for the 2nd season in a row. They were overpowered by Belmullet, 2-7 to 9 points down in Ballina at this stage last year. They'll have learnt a few harsh lessons from that experience. Probably chief amongst them. Once you concede 2 goals in a game like this, it's a very big mountain to climb. As Ballintubber found out to their cost in the first game here, conceded 3 goals and just were never able to make up that ground again. Loose ball, 2 loose. Won back by Brian McDermott. Moved on by Fionn McDonough. And here is Pat Lambert. He's got his brother Paul racing forward in support, but it was too much on the pass. Cut out by Mitchels, cut out by Morahan. And the ball is played across to this near side of the field to Bob Toohey again. Ger McDonough, a man who has been there and done that, to Paddy Heenahan. Just tried to be a little too clever with the solo there. Ball taken off his toe by Luke Tunney. Very tidy defender. Has managed to force his way back into the Westport defence and looks like he intends to stay there. McDonough, his own version of the goose step. Kevin Kane takes aim, lets fly, and Kevin Kane is back in business. He kicks Westport 2 in front, his first.
Yeah, really, really impressive. That's a fantastic score from the old warrior Kevin Kane. Yeah, I mean, right at this stage, Westport are breaking with a little bit more pace and intent, and they look like a real score threat, particularly their half-forward line. But on that occasion, Kevin Kane, who's playing in the full-forward position, proved and justified his selection and start in this afternoon's game, because that's a fantastic score.
So 13 minutes gone. 4 points, all from play, as Donnacha McHugh, the Mayo defender, drills this ball in long. He was looking for the run inside of Gavin Durkin, who just overshot the runway. He had 1 or 2 Westport defenders in close proximity. And again, Westport in no particular hurry here to kick the ball away. They'll work it out of defence in their own time. It's now in the safe hands of Lee Keegan. Forward to Mark Moran, wearing 14, but playing at centre forward. Here's Keegan again, looks up, he wants to shoot, he takes it on, the umpires like it. Keegan, absolutely brilliant. 2 for him, 4 for Westport.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's a super score, the score of the game so far. Mitchels, are sitting back in the pocket, but when you have strikers who can kick the ball from outside the defensive zone that Mitchels are setting up, they have real talent, and that's an incredible score, his second.
So Westport open up a 3-point advantage as Paddy Durkin makes some space for himself, creates an angle, and that shot flies high and wide. It's Mitchell's second miss of this county semi-final. We're approaching the end of the first quarter, and Westport right now, John, playing it on their terms.
Oh, absolutely. They've just a little bit more pace than Castlebar and Mitchels, and they're breaking with real purpose. And when you have the likes of this man who's on the ball now, Lee Keegan, he's sheer class.
Well, he's pulling all the strings, and it's a lovely ball to pick out Kevin Kane. Not for the first time. The 2 old stagers on the same page. Mark Moran, Paul Lambert. Mitchells have got that ring of steel circling all around their D, protecting the goal mouth at all costs. But Keegan puts the head down, drives through 2 defenders. It would be some score, just wide. Westport's first.
Yeah, but again, the power and the pace and the physicality of Lee Keegan, he just knifed straight through 2 Castlebar Mitchels players, left them for dead, and just so unlucky that drifted wide. But he's been the man of the moment so far in this game.
Possession secured by Bob Toohey into the centre, and now Donny Newcombe, a man who lifted the Moclair Cup here a few years ago, as did his goalkeeper Rory Byrne. In fact, Rory got to do it a few times. And the Mitchells, well, they were not on too many people's shortlist at the beginning of the season, but they're here on merit. They're one of the last 3 teams left standing. Paddy Heenahan, nice ball. He's looking for the run inside of Ulton O'Reilly. Just left it short, cut out by Brian McDermott, and away into the hands of Brian O'Malley, who'll carry it clear. Head up again. Westport playing heads up football. Moran, lovely layoff to the oncoming Pat Lambert. It's all very slick, very effortless from Westport. Westport 65 metres from the Castlebar goal. Mitchells with 14 men back. Ethan Gibbons, the only player who's been left up the field. Oisin McLaughlin sits in as playmaker. Kevin Kane, well, he is running the line, as John Mahan says, east to west constantly in this first 15-16 minutes, and he's doing it very effectively as well.
Yeah, great outlet. Like, I mean, when you look up and you see the movement in the full forward position, like, I mean, he is an outlet every occasion. A man that's been out for so long, he's been very, very impressive in that full forward role.
Loose hand pass, misplaced hand pass, and that allows Paddy Durkin in to win it back for the Mitchells. Bob Toohey clips it down the line. Now Ethan Gibbons, what can he do from here? His reputation precedes him, of course, after that man of the match display against Knockmore. He's got Brian McDermott for company. Right now the play is switched to the far side as Mitchell's just try to ask a few questions of this Westport backline. Michael Fahy gives it to Sean Morahan. Now it's Westport's turn to sit in. Morahan will take on the shot, shoots over the screen, off his left, and the umpire nonchalantly, hands in his pockets, nods across and says, I like it. 4-2.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, scores are going to be kicked from distance outside that defensive setup that both teams are deploying. But when you have guys that can pull the trigger and with such accuracy there, that guy he's been absolutely fantastic in this year's championship, and Mitchell's needed that score just to hang in there, just to keep them in touch with Westport, because Westport have been the more impressive team in this opening. What is it, 15 minutes gone?
Yeah, we're up to 18 now.
Wow.
And that was Mitchell's first score for 8 minutes, and what a score it was. Sean Morahan off his left. Not for the first time in this season's championship. He's hit the target. Delivered a crucial equaliser in the last group game against Gary Moore up in Cong. A result that changed the complexion of the final standings in the group, dictated the quarter-final pairings, and certainly from a Gary Moore perspective, the rest is history. They were beaten by Westport. Mitchell's got over Knockmore. So 4 points to 2. We're into the second quarter. Skies beginning to darken as Oisin McLaughlin, the joint captain, to the other joint captain, Niall McManaman, just left it behind for a moment. Ball was touched on the ground. Declan Corcoran is not going to let the score stand. He'd already blown the whistle. So we'll come back for a free in for Westport. But there's an unusual atmosphere here, John, at the moment. There's a murmur around the stand almost.
Yeah.
Describe it.
Well, you get the impression there's a sense of inevitability about this game, that Westport have been really, really impressive. 3 points up now after kicking that free kick. Mitchells are playing a very, very defensive strategy here. At some juncture, you'd feel they're going to have to come out and play and get more players into their forward line, because playing the way they are at the moment, I cannot see them, Mitchells, winning this game. So they've got to come out and get more players up into their full forward line in particular.
So the favourites go 3 points up. Conal Dawson pops over his second of the afternoon. First from a free. In fact, it's the first score from a free we've had in the match. And the Mitchells find themselves 3 points behind as Donncha McHugh breaks forward down the right. Paddy Heenahan rises above Luke Tunney, calls the mark. Does so spectacularly, and Paddy Heenahan is shaping up like a man who's going to have a shot at goal. Mitchell send nobody in towards the end lines. That's not in their playbook. Paddy Heenahan takes on the shot. Poor effort. And that's 3 wides for Mitchells. Yeah,
it was a brilliant mark. He soared into the air right over Luke Tunney. He's about 4 or 5 inches on Luke Tunney. But unfortunately for Paddy on that occasion, kicked a poor wide. Is there any such thing as a good wide? But certainly that wasn't hugely impressive. He won't be too pleased with that effort.
Westport transition down the field very quickly through Brian O'Malley to Kevin Kane, the anchor man in that full forward line. Outnumbered there 3-1. Oh, lovely skill from Dawson to lift it and flick it. McLaughlin, Mark Moran looking to drop the shoulder. Back to Dawson again. You could see him thinking, have I got time here to pull the trigger? He knew he didn't, and instead they'll recycle and go again. Ball played across the field to Liam Shevlin. He's all there as well. To McManaman. He has plenty of options. Uses Paul Lambert. Low to the ground, bouncing. Back to Kevin Kane. Kane with that classic outside of the left. Can't bring it in. And that will sail away for a second Westport wide. Yeah,
you just mentioned a few moments, Mike. The game really hasn't sparkled. It's just... for some reason, it hasn't got the level of excitement you would expect from these players. Lots of talent out there for sure, but the game really hasn't ignited as of yet.
So we're in the 22nd minute of the first half. You're watching the Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-final, county final on in 2 weeks' time. Ballina Stephenites against one of these two. Will it be Mitchels? Will it be Westport? Mitchels have a free in. That was Sean Morahan again breaking out of defence. And every chance he gets, John, he's trying to get Mark Moran turned and run him the other way.
Oh, he's superb. I mean, I'm really impressed with that corner back, right full back. He's all over the place. He's got great pace. He's very intelligent footballer, and he is probing continuously, always looking for the half chance. I have to say, of the Mitchells team right now, he is the one guy that's taken the game to Westport, and hugely impressed with him.
All eyes on Ethan Gibbons. He shoots from 40 metres right in front of the goal and right over the black spot. 2 for Gibbons, 3 for Mitchells, and they just keep in touch.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great strike again. As I say, Ethan he's a beautiful strike of the ball, left and right foot, and that's hugely impressive. That one, I think, off his left, really impressive score. And yeah, they expect him to deliver a performance if Mitchells are going to have any chance here, and that's the second point. Started off quite well.
Rory Brickenden stretches his legs to get forward. He's looking for the target man, the moving target man, Kane. Ger McDonough. Well, he's got a few inches in height on Kevin Kane, and he used them there just to flick it away from danger. Carried clear by Joe Toohey. And now Michael Fahy uses Donncha McHugh, who wrong foots Pat Lambert and drives out through open road on this left wing. Oh, lovely ball to Sean Morahan, who again tries to get forward. Morahan around the corner in towards Gavin Durkin, trying to get turned. Support outside from Bob Toohey. Inside to Morahan, who stayed forward and shoots and leaves it short to Paddy O'Malley. That's another missed opportunity, as Lee Keegan smuggles it forward to Brian O'Malley. And now Fionn McDonough. Crowd just struggling to get engaged here. They're sitting back and waiting for something to happen. And here's one man who might make it happen. Keegan to Pat Lambert. Well, he took on the shot. There was nobody at home in either the full back line or the full forward line. And that is a tame effort, really. A third Westport miss. It remains 5-3, and the restart is gone already.
Yeah, Mitchells, as I say, both teams are conceding the kick-outs, letting they're not pushing up, they're just retreating, getting into that defensive strategy, that setup that both teams are deploying here. But yeah, that was a poor strike from Pat Lambert. Really hasn't got into the game as such.
Now Ethan Gibbons trying to run Brian McDermott on the outside. Support from Liam Shevlin, and they doubled up on Gibbons. They forced the mistake. Donny Newcombe couldn't get to the ball, and now Westport will try and break. Oh, great hands from Oisin McLaughlin. Ball just stuck to them like a magnet, and he's beaten Joe Toohey, and he's got pace, and he's not afraid to use it. Finds Mark Moran. Now Oisin McLaughlin felt he was checked late. Declan Corcoran is letting the game continue. That's a really good take by Keegan. He's got McDonough on the loop, and now it's Paul Lambert who spins and shoots and has scored. Well, there was a little bit of everything in that from Westport. There was the initial turnover, the really good take under pressure from Oisin McLaughlin, and a very tidy finish from Paul Lambert.
Yeah, I have to say, I just mentioned that Paul really wasn't sparkling this game, but him, and yeah, that's through the full forward line. In fact, the Westport full forward line have been really impressive. Mark Moore and Kevin Kane, and that time Pat Lambert with a sweet score.
So we're in the 26th minute, and it's double scores. That's Paul Lambert up from wing back with a 5th point from play for Westport. Well, they only managed 13 points, Westport, in each of their last 2 games. 13 against Mayo Gales, 13 against Gary Moore. Actually put up 13 scores as well against Ballintubber in the second round, 2-11. So they haven't exactly been shooting the lights out, Westport, but they always give you the impression, John, if they if they do catch fire, if they do get a run on a team,
yeah,
they could run up a huge score.
Well, I mean, I do recall seeing when the first game against Ballinturbo in the championship, and I just talk about how athletic and pacey they were on that occasion. They really didn't embellish their reputation against Gary Moore. In fact, they were quite lucky to come out of that game in the quarter-final. But as you rightly say, they've lots of talent and lots of pace around the park. But there's just something about them. They're really ardent firing, and I suppose lots of pressure on them as they get to this stage of the championship, having been beaten last year by Belmullet in the semi-final stage. There's huge pressure on Westport because there are lots of people's favourites to win this year's county title, and that can do funny things to players.
Well, we're into the closing stages of the first half as Mitchels go along, trying to mix it up. Lovely chip lift from Ethan Gibbons, who's trying to burrow his way through. He's been fouled by the double team again of McDermott and Shevlin. Every time Gibbons gets the ball, Shevlin is rushing across to back up McDermott. They know where the danger is coming from. It's coming from Ethan Gibbons. He's been fouled, and he'll surely kick it over without any major issue, which he does, and it's 6-4, and for all the territory and for all the possession Westport have had, Mitchells are right in this.
Absolutely, and they're hanging in there, and on that occasion, Ethan with a fantastic little flick up, great talent. I coached that lad for 4 years, and he's a beautiful striker of the ball. I wondered would he be able to follow up his man-of-the-match performance in the quarter-final with a good performance today. He started brightly, that's his third, 2 frees and 1 from play.
I'm sure you're taking credit for the chip lift, John.
I can't recall coaching that particular one, but he has lots of talent, you can see that clearly.
Fionn McDonough round the corner for Kevin Kane. Ger McDonough using his power but using it illegally, says Declan Corcoran. I think back in your day, John, that would have been play away.
Yeah, I mean, Ger, wily old fox that he is, I think he may have been leaning on him. There was lots of referees that might have given him the benefit of the doubt, but Kevin Kane, I have to say, who is playing Orthodox 14, he's been fantastic. He can understand why they started him ahead of Finbar McLaughlin. He has been a great outlet, and it's that phrase you mentioned earlier on, those east-west runs. Every time they're half forward or midfield look up, he's making those hard yards to be an outlet for Westport. Really impressive.
Well, Pat Lambert's account is open. He's clipped that free up and over the bar to push Westport 7-4 up. And we've just heard we'll have at least 1 minute of additional time at the end of this first half. We're now in the 30th minute, so about 2 minutes to go. 2 minutes for Castlebar perhaps to eat into the deficit as Michael Fahy goes driving up the field. Ultan O'Reilly cuts in at an angle. He's got Paul Lambert after him, brushes him aside, and Ultan O'Reilly sets his feet and sends the ball flying over the bar. Well, I'm not sure if his dad Declan ever kicked a score like that, but he didn't lick it from the grass either.
Well, he certainly didn't have the pace that Ultan has, his dad that is. But Ultan has been rather quiet in the game, of course, playing that kind of defensive setup that they deploy here. But that's a really impressive score from Mitchels.
A first of the day for Ultan O'Reilly. Paddy O'Malley doesn't hang around with the Westport kickouts. Ball in the hands of Mark Moran under pressure from Donncha McHugh. 4 wides for Westport, and Donncha McHugh making life difficult for Mark Moran. 7-5 it remains. Rory Byrne weighs up his options, decides to clip it short to the aforementioned Donncha McHugh, and the ball is now in the hands of Ger McDonough. He's 32 now, the veteran Castlebar Mitchels, number 6. He and Kevin Kane having quite the battle on the edge of the square as Paddy Durkin, he's had a really quiet first half, comes forward. There's that solo of his thrown in there in the middle of 3 or 4 others. I know it's been watched closely by referees all over the place. Durkin goes long. He's looking for Gavin Durkin, his first cousin, in there on the edge of the square. Ball doesn't stick. Paddy O'Malley gets it out to Luke Tunney, and Tunney will carry it out along this right-hand side. Support from Dawson. Tunney almost sold a dummy to himself there, but managed to keep the head up towards Mark Moran. He's got Joe Toohey after him. Going to soccer style it by the looks of things. Does a little step over. Doesn't quite go to plan. And Paddy Heenahan has got the ball back for the Mitchells. Well, that step over right in front of Martin Connolly won't have gone down great.
I don't think so. They'll be really disgusted with that on the sideline. Mark, trying to a fancy soccer flick that didn't come off for him, and I'll just say he might be reminded by Martin Connolly in the dressing room in a few moments' time to get down to that ball, because he's given Ethan an opportunity here to bring it back to 1 point.
This could be the last kick of the half. Gibbons, he's pulled it, and it's away to the right and wide. 4 wides for Mitchels, 4 wides for Westport. Declan Corcoran blows the half-time whistle, and the Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-final. Well, it's finally balanced. It's beautifully poised. Westport lead a 7 points to 5. John Mahan, your overall impressions?
It really hasn't sparkled. We were expecting much better, to be quite honest with you. Lots of talent out there, but you just remarked Paddy Durkin there has had a quiet first half. When a guy that I have huge regard and respect for really hasn't sparkled. Lee Keegan, on the other hand, when he injects pace into it, he's kicked 2 wonderful points from play. He's been quite impressive. Mitchells are just 2 points behind, and they're just hanging in there. Sean Morahan has been their most impressive player at corner back. He's a guy that's injecting pace into their attack. Mitchells have set up very, very defensively. I think if they're going to have any chance of coming out of here with a victory, they've got to be get more players up into their forward line, because right now that defensive strategy won't be good enough to get them across the line. Westport really haven't embellished their reputation in any great way with that first half performance. Very tentative, but they have a little bit more pace, and when they go at Mitchells, they are a bigger score threat. That's the way I've seen the first half, Mike.
John, just give us a sense of what the message might be from Barry Moore and Neil Lydon in that Mitchells dressing room at half-time. Where have you seen maybe weaknesses, chinks in the Westport armour, or areas that Mitchells could really go after in the second half? Well,
if you contrast, say, the 2 full forward lines, Mitchells would be really disappointed. Of course, Paddy Heenan and the way they deploy, Paddy Heenan, if you contrast him, who's picked at 14, they are moving Gavin Durkin in there and hoping that to get him in on the end of some high ball. But they've got to really get up and get more advanced. Forget about their defensive strategy. Go at the Westport full back line in particular. I know Rory Brickerton is a county footballer, but let's bomb in a few skulls in on top of that Westport full back line and see if Gavin Durkin can get on the end of a few high balls in there. But they're just too tentative. They're playing a little bit too conservatively, Castlebar Mitchells, and they need Paddy Durkin to start driving them forward. And they're relying on young Sean Morahan, who is playing at right corner back. He's the one guy that's really driving at the Westport defence, but they need the likes of Paddy Durkin to drive at them and just be, get more Mitchells players into the forward line and have a go. Otherwise, they have no chance of winning this game.
Last word for now maybe on Westport, John. I know they're 2 points up. They're obviously 30 minutes from a county final. But we've watched them a few times recently, and every time we do, they're not the same team without Owen McLaughlin and Colm Moran. There's just something missing, particularly with Colm Moran absent from the forward line. Yeah,
there's no question about it. Colm Moran is a huge loss. But Oisin McLaughlin, who has been hugely impressive in this year's championship to date, he was man of the match against Gary Moore. He really hasn't sparkled. Similarly, Conal Dawson, who's been very impressive. Those 2 wing forwards were hugely impressive against Gary Moore. They really haven't fired. Fionn McDonough, another inter-county footballer, really hasn't sparkled as centre forward. Kevin Kane, in fairness to him, is the one guy that has been quite impressive. He's an outlet for every time the likes of their midfielders look up or their half-back line look. Who's the guy making the hard yards inside? It's Kevin Kane, in fairness to him, and he's been fantastic. He's been a great anchor. He's just the pivot inside in the full forward line. That's the big difference for me in the first half. Whereas, unfortunately, from a Mitchell's perspective, they haven't got that. Gavin Durkin has that physicality. He's very strong in the air. He's a guy that I would really put on the edge of the square and say, let's have a right go here. But there's something about Westport. They have lots of talent, they have lots of pace, but they just haven't caught fire. And Ballina, if they are gone home, we mentioned before the game started here, they're waiting. Their bus was blocked. I'm surprised that Ballina, Steve Nice wouldn't have hung around here to have a look at their opponents in the final. But on the basis of what we witnessed in that first half, Ballina won't be shaking in their boots.
I can only assume they wanted to get home and hear John Mahan on Mayo GATV.
well, I don't know about listening to me, Mike, but no, look at Ballina, Steve and I certainly won't be scared of what they're seeing there from Westport this afternoon.
Before we take a quick break to recharge the batteries, if you had your fiver on the Ballina Stephenites Westport double right now, would you be sitting fairly comfortably? Are you still a little concerned that there could be a kick in Mitchels, that Mitchels could come on the blind side here and spoil the party?
Well, I'm not, on the basis of what I've seen the first half, they won't. I'm, as a former Mitchels footballer, I'm disappointed to say that they're just playing a little bit too conservatively. They've got to get out there and push, get more guys up into their attack and have a right go win this game. They're just playing that conservative brand of football that might see them come out here with their reputation intact, but certainly not enhanced.
Well, that's it from us just for the moment. We'll be back very shortly. Just the latest scoreline to give you. It's half-time in the other intermediate semi-final over in Claremorris, and it looks to be just as tight there. In fact, it's even tighter. Ballyhonus leading Hollymount Carramore by 5 points to 4. And just literally this moment I've heard that the Neil have beaten Davits in a penalty shootout in the Senior Championship relegation playoffs. So the Neil will be playing senior football in 2023. Davits go to intermediate. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back here shortly with full second half commentary of the second of the Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-finals.
Okay.
And you're very welcome back to Hastings Insurance, McHale Park. As you may notice in the background, it looks like the first rain of the afternoon has rolled in over the county town. That will make things even more interesting for the footballers of Castlebar, Mitchels and Westport over the course of the second half. Before the action gets underway, I must just say a quick hello to all the coins who are watching in Nora's in Cleveland this afternoon, or this morning, I'm sure, as it would be in their neck of the woods. Big Westport fans. They were here in Ireland for the quarter-final win over Garrymore, and I know they're very much in the Westport corner as they watch on from Cleveland. And wherever you're watching this second senior semi-final, well, I'm sure like the rest of us, you're hoping that the action will improve over the course of the second half. The Mitchells have made a change at the break. Barry Moran and Neil Lydon are going to change it up and mix it up. Mark Cunningham, who is an out-and-out inside forward, he's a flyer. He's in to the Castlebar 15, and it does look like it may be Paddy Heenahan that has been withdrawn. Not quite sure if Paddy picked up a knock or not, but the conditions won't suit a player of Mark Cunningham's stature, John, but at the same time, if he gets the ball in his hands inside, he's lethal.
He is lively, for sure, yeah. But as I say, the conditions won't suit him. And getting rather dark here as well. Let's hope we don't require lights. But yeah, but I think it's a smart move by Barry Moore, and it just showed a level of intent bringing on a forward who can be a threat for sure with his pace.
Well, it doesn't look like Westport have made any changes, so we're off and running again. Westport 2 in front. Mitchells still very much in the game, but the big question will be, can they put enough scores on the board? They've averaged 12 points over the course of the championship, haven't scored a goal. Don't think they've created too many goal scoring chances even in their 4.5 games so far, and more than 5 hours of championship football now have been played and no green flag, so that will tell you just how they have struggled to put 3-pointers on the board in 2022. Michael Fahy just ran down a blind alley there, and he's turned over. Possession back to Westport, and more specifically back into the hands of initially the goalkeeper Paddy O'Malley and now Lee Keegan. 2 points he scored in the first half. He's quite literally running the show from centre back as Luke Tunney goes forward. Now Conal Dawson. Just 2 Westport players. You can make that 3 now inside the Mitchells 45 as Brian O'Malley goes forward, looking for Pat Lambert. He's got space here. Mitchell's very slow in getting pressure on the ball. Now Paddy Durkin shuts down Fionn McDonough, and the block takes the sting out of it, and Ger McDonough will carry it clear under pressure from Kevin Kane. Mitchells, well, they haven't been in a county final since 2017, but just to underline how dominant they were at that stage of things, that was their 5th county final in a row. They really were there or thereabouts every other year from 2013 to 2017. They've been in transition for the last few years, but they're back, and right now giving Westport enough of it as Niall McManaman tries to come down in that left channel. He was chased by Fahy. Ball won back by Joe Toohey, and he gives it to his brother Bob. Referee Declan Corcoran blows the whistle. Free to Castlebar, taking quickly into Michael Fahy again. Rain now falling steadily, just getting darker by the minute. And if we go to extra time here, which is a distinct possibility, well, things could get very interesting. Mark Cunningham just cuts inside to try and weigh up his options. Everybody backs off. He keeps going. Now Ger McDonough drops it, pulls on it, and Paddy O'Malley had to be alert there to get down and save with the boot. Cunningham again. He's such a live wire of a corner forward, and he's already John, liven things up in that Mitchell's full forward line.
Yeah, for sure. Jeremy McDonough getting on the end of that was certainly a goal opportunity there. Unfortunately, it just fell away from Ger just as he was about to pull the trigger. But I mean, certainly I didn't anticipate the way Castlebar and Mitchels are setting up here that Jeremy McDonough would find himself in that position.
Well, you never know where people are watching online these days, of course, with the wonders of modern technology. We've just been contacted by a man who's watching us from 40 metres underground on a tunnel boring machine in London. There's a first for me, John.
Well, yeah, that's good on him.
Well, what do they say? One life, one club and all of that. He's a devoted Westport supporter, I do believe. And hopefully we're coming through loud and clear, 40 metres underground. Back here above ground, no change in the state of play. 7-5 to Westport in what is every bit as cagey, tactical, tentative, call it what you like, early stages of the second half. 4 minutes into the second half and not a whole pile to report.
No, nothing. Into your and from here, like, I mean, it's rather boring now at the moment, and just viewers here persevere with it. It might we might have a bit of excitement just yet, but the way it is at the moment is not easy on the eye.
A very similar opening to the first half when both teams were just weighing each other up, sussing each other out. 8 or 9 minutes, this man, Lee Keegan, decided enough's enough, and he took it on, and here we are. So the ball sprayed to the far side to Paul Lambert. He's hugging that far sideline into the centre to Brian McDermott, man who led Westport to the All-Ireland Intermediate Championship back in 2017. Keegan again. He's got Anthony O'Boyle for company. Keegan plays the 1-2 and continues the run. Fionn McDonough. Just wrong foots Donny Newcombe. Back to Keegan. One man inside to aim at, that's Kevin Kane. He just seemed to get tangled there with Joe Toohey. The Mitchels defender went down. Declan Corcoran gives the free. And Mitchels will try and build from the back through Donncha McHugh. Well, if Westport do go on to win this game, there are a handful of players out on the field and another few in the bench who weren't even born the last time they played in a county senior final. That will tell you just how far back you have to go. In fact, that county final back in 91, when they lost to Hollymount, conditions were quite similar to today. It was also a low-scoring affair, a war of attrition. And it's been a very similar story so far this afternoon. Kevin Kane again. This time he drifts a little further out the field to get his hands on the ball. Now Tunney spent the summer in Chicago, where I can only imagine conditions were a lot more pleasant.
Yeah, quite a few of our footballers spent the summer in Chicago, and I suppose the way the split season is now, it affords an opportunity to club players to get out and enjoy what North America has to offer.
Now, a shooting chance for Rory Brickenden. Didn't quite go to plan, and that's putting it mildly. Rory Byrne decides to keep it in play, wants to try and get Castlebar moving down the field as quickly as possible. Ball back in the hands of Rory Byrne again. I'm sure he's been scouted particularly closely by Kevin McStay, Stephen Rochford and company this afternoon. He'll be in the mix for the number 1 jersey for Mayo, you'd imagine, again next season, as Gavin Durkin just sidesteps the referee Declan Corcoran there on his way across the field. Donny Newcombe and now Paddy Durkin. We're yet to really see Paddy explode or drive forward with the sort of pace and power we know he has. Now Anthony O'Boyle. Back to Emmett Murphy. Emmett Murphy, he's wearing 18, but he was a late inclusion in the Mitchell starting team in what was a tactical change by Barry Moore and Neil Lydon. He actually replaced the man on the ball there a moment ago, Mark Cunningham. Now Donncha McHugh's turn to run forward. Westport, 14 men inside their own half. Everybody knows their job. Everybody in position as Paddy Durkin just thinks about moving it up through the gears. Now sees a gap and goes through it. Men break left and right. Instead, he pops it back to Ethan Gibbons. He's the shooter. Gibbons kicks it high and wide. 5th wide for the Mitchells. And considering how long it took to create the chance, it's a big miss.
It's a huge miss from Ethan. I would have put my money on him to nail that, but it was Paddy who put it on a plate for him, and disappointing from a Mitchell's point of view, but
8 minutes gone. Oisín McLaughlin trying to lose Joe Toohey, just caught by a trailing leg. Joe Toohey gives the thumbs up to Declan Corcoran, acknowledging he left a leg in, but it took the sting out of the Westport attack, and it means Pat Lambert will come back to kick the free. Mark Moran makes a dummy run, a decoy run into the corner. Lambert instead uses Oisín McLaughlin, who returns the pass as quickly as he can. Now Mark Moran looks up, pops it in around the penalty area, might break off Kevin Kane. Fionn McDonagh loses the defender, and somehow Fionn McDonagh has blazed that shot wide. It's a 5th Westport miss. Yeah,
chances going to begging for both teams. Fionn swivering there, I would have expected him to have tapped that over the bar, but the game is finally balanced here at the moment. You feel that the next, whoever scores, it's going to be a huge score, because they're so hard to come by. Scores, that is.
Well, a lot of people, I'd say, refreshing their social media feeds at the moment, maybe checking in on the cross-channel soccer, because this second half is just muddling along at his own pace here. Just both teams mirroring each other, one waiting for the other to make a mistake. Now Kevin Kane takes on the shot, looking to give the Westport crowd something to shout about, but that effort balloons off the outside of his boot. It's a 6th miss for Westport. And I think, John, overall, the less said about the first 10 minutes of the second half, the better.
Oh, I can't believe it's so poor from both teams. Lots of quality out there, but it's been terrible, I have to say. The 10 minutes of this second half has been as bad as I've seen from both teams. It's hard to believe that they can play as poorly, but neither side. Both teams are setting up so defensively. It's very, very hard. There's no room to get a shot away, and when you do, maybe the shot selection is the wrong one, but it's a poor affair.
Well, the Westport sweeper Liam Shevlin is in position. He's blocking any attempt at a long ball into Ethan Gibbons. That's why a lot of the time Mitchells are going around the house to try and break the line. Now Declan Corcoran wants a word with Mark Moran. Lee Keegan trying to get his spake in first, as it were. I think just trying to put a doubt or two in Declan Corcoran's mind, maybe. Yellow for Moran, quite an emphatic yellow as well. I think they all amount to the same thing, but Declan Corcoran just letting Mark Moran know he won't have any more of it. Ball delivered in by Joe Toohey, caught inside by Gavin Durkin, who's been pulled. You could see the jersey tug from here. Gavin Durkin wins the free. And I suppose you could say Mitchells get what they came for, John.
Absolutely. That's what we mentioned at half time. I know Gavin, I've coached him for a number of years. He has great hands. He's a big unit for sure, 24-year-old, but caught that brilliantly well, took the sweeper out of it, but that's what Mitchells need to do, is anchor him there and just bomb him in a few scuds, and an easy tap over free for Ethan, and they're right in the mix here. Just hard to comprehend, a Mitchells team that has played so poorly are just 1 point behind.
Well, that is, believe it or not, the first score of the second half. It's Ethan Gibbons' 4th, and it's taken just over 11 minutes to arrive. 7-6 in the Connacht Gold senior semi-final as the floodlights begin to come on here at McHale Park, at Hastings Insurance McHale Park. You can see the bulbs starting to kick in over on the far side. Well, you talk about big decisions. That's one of the biggest, John, in the current climate, to turn on the floodlights. That'll just show you how dark it's beginning to get.
Oh, it is, yeah. It's really closing in. I'm just looking at the hills here, and behind over Ross here, it's gone really dark here this afternoon. But and I didn't think the lights were in operation here for some reason, but they are, and they're needed. But incidentally, the referee brought that ball forward about 30 metres. I thought it used to be 10. I thought it was 10 for...
Yeah, 13 metres is usually the accepted distance, but yeah, I think you're right. Declan Corcoran added on some VAT there, as it were, And that's a very poor effort from Pat Lambert. That's now 7 wides for Westport.
Yeah.
And I think we can say now, John, with some certainty, that they're beginning to wobble a little.
They are. I mean, and that was always the fear from a Westport perspective, that they just... the ball is going out there for a Castlebar. Yeah, that is there's real pressure on them now. Like, I mean, they're everyone's favourites to come out of this game, but they're just hanging on by a bare thread. I've anticipated that with the forwards and that wing, half forward line in particular that they have, they're just not firing at all. Just 1 point in it.
They haven't scored now since the 29th minute, Westport. Now McDonough to Lambert. This is better. Pat Lambert cuts in and fires it up and over the bar. Well, that was badly needed. It's his second, and it just gives them some breathing room. Yeah,
Fionn McDonough put it on a plate for him. I mean, Fionn, by his standards, has been rather quiet in this half. But yeah, he left on a plate there for Pat Lambert. That's Pat Lambert's third point. 2 from play and 1 from free, and that's a quite good return when scores are so hard to come by. So he's playing quite well.
Well, no major surprise to see Westport are getting ready to make a change. Killian Kilkelly will be in shortly. Ulton O'Reilly's effort brilliantly blocked by who else? The man himself, Lee Keegan, came on the blind side to break Ulton O'Reilly's heart there. Ulton, I'm sure, thought he had all the angles covered, and then Superman himself, Lee Keegan, arrives to spoil the fun. Great block. It'll lift Westport. It just gives a little bit more urgency and momentum to this attack, perhaps, as well, as Luke Tunney tries to make some headway, pops it forward to Kevin Kane, on the move again, out from full forward. Now the floodlights are starting to kick in and illuminate the pitch here in Castlebar. That's another unforced error, another box ticked on the Westport stat sheet.
Yeah, we've had so many of them. In the first half, it was error, the amount of balls that were turned over by both sides, but mistakes all over the pitch by quality footballers. It's just hard to watch, really.
Well, Mitchels wanted to take a quick free. Declan Corcoran wanted them to stall the ball because I think there's some activity on the sideline and they want to make a change. In fact, they want to get Connor Stenson in. And is it Donny Newcombe that's coming out? Well, he'll be a big loss. But no surprise either to see Barry Moore and Neil Lydon looking to shake up that forward line, John, because 6 points is not going to cut it at this stage of the day.
Absolutely not, no. And Connor again has played most of the championship. I was a little bit surprised to see him dropped.
Here's Sean Morahan on the run, looking for his second. Oh, it's another beauty from Sean Morahan. Remember the name, put it on your shortlist. He is one to watch. 8-7.
Oh yeah, he's real quality. He certainly enhanced his reputation here today. I'm hugely impressed with Sean, and that's a fantastic score off his left on the left hand side. Just keeping Mitchels hanging in there, and he's certainly given a bit of leadership that Mitchell so badly needed. Like, I mean, if that doesn't shake them and get his forward line moving, cornerback, he's done a fantastic job. And I see him there. Is he picking up Oisin McLaughlin? He's keeping him quiet as well.
Well, I was just watching on the sideline there, Barry Moore, and not one bit impressed that he couldn't get his sub on there when that ball had gone over the bar from Sean Morahan, but it didn't happen. So Connor Stenson is still waiting impatiently to get in there. But Westport's lead back to the bare minimum again, 8-7, as Paul Lambert tries to come forward. Niall McManaman, Liam Shevlin. It's like a game of basketball right now. Both teams working it side to side, back to the centre, waiting for the gaps to appear, waiting for their chance to break the line. Lee Keegan. Rory Brickenden. Nice ball in over the top for Kevin Kane. He can still move. This is Brian O'Malley. He's gone down. Now, was it inside the square? It looked like it was from here, but Declan Corcoran is giving a free in. He feels the foul was committed just outside the large square. That was very close.
Very close to being a penalty, but I think the referee has got it spot on there. From my angle here, it appeared just to be about a foot outside the parallelogram. But yeah, certainly it was a great ball in, and I don't know, was it that man, Sean Moran, that was caught? Was it Rory Brickenden that was in?
He played the pass.
Yeah, it was a super ball from him. Certainly created a goal chance there, and but you'd expect it's an easy tap over free just to stretch their lead to 2.
This is an interesting change, John. They're taking out Kevin Kane. They're bringing in Cillian Kilkelly. On a day like this, would you have left him in there?
Absolutely. I think he's been fantastic for them, working really, really hard. And I suppose the fact that he's just coming back from injury, I think he only played about 10 minutes in the quarter-final. But I can tell you he'd be damn happy with his shift. He put in a huge shift there and justified his inclusion for sure.
So 18 minutes into the second half, Pat Lambert pops over the free and Westport lead 9 points to 7. 2 in it again in this West Mayo derby. We were hoping it might become a West Mayo El Clasico of sorts, but not so far anyway. 3 points now and counting, by the way, for Pat Lambert in the corner. Didn't get a score from play against Gary Moore in the quarter-final, but has looked a lot more like his old self this afternoon. So Cillian Kilkelly is on, by the way, just to confirm that. He's into the Westport attack. Man who's worked his way back from injury to become an impact sub for Westport this season. Can he help them over the line? I think his dad may have played with Westport in that 91 final. Did he, John?
I'm thinking Pearson. No, I don't think so. He was a Mitchels player back then from recollection. But Cillian is a super footballer. I've watched him for years. Very, very quick and pacey, and he's a great option off the bench. I hear prior to this game really disappointed. In fact, disgusted that he wasn't starting. But if he gets a half chance, he can split the post. He's very talented.
6 wides for Castlebar, by the way. But Brian Kilkelly, such a great servant for the Mitchells for years, then moved across to Westport, played with Mayo in that 89 All-Ireland final, run to the final when they lost to Tyrone as well. And his son, Cillian, a Kitog, like his dad, and very, very accurate if he gets a chance. So 9 points to 7 as we swing into the home straight under the floodlights here at Cale Park. 10.5 minutes of normal time to play. And it is still there for the taking. Will it be a meeting of the aristocrats, the traditional powerhouses in the county senior final? That would be Ballina and Castlebar. Or can Westport come and for the very first time set up a county senior final between two of the big towns, two of the big urban areas, the Stephenites and Westport? Niall McManaman across to Liam Shevlin. Again, biding his time, and Westport again in no particular hurry to force this. Keegan. He really is such a safe pair of hands, isn't he?
Yeah, he never turns the ball over. And you'd expect him now in the last couple of minutes here just to anchor at 6 and control the whole the proceedings here. Such a great talent to have. I mean, he's quite immense. Kicked his 2 points in the first half as well. Don't be surprised if he kicks a third, because he has it in his locker for sure.
Well, the teams have shared 4 points between them in this second half. McDonough's in. Terrific save by Rory Byrne, who got out and made himself big and smothered the shot from Fionn McDonough. It's the clearest cut goal chance we've had in the entire game. It's taken almost an hour for it to arrive. McDonough could see the whites of Rory Byrne's eyes after the pass from Luke Tunney, and Rory Byrne stands up, makes himself big, makes the save.
Rory Byrne has been absolutely brilliant since he came into the Mayo senior panel. He's the most improved player, I think, in the county. But he just proved how adept and what the class keeper that he is. That was a great save from him. But certainly a great goal opportunity for Westport. That would surely have seen them home and hosed.
So both sidelines making changes, both of them in fact bringing in number 24s. It's Alan Kennedy for Pat Lambert, and it's Paul Welch for Ger McDonough. So fresh legs in the two attacks, because at this stage it will come down to who can hold their nerve, who can put scores on the board. And Alan Kennedy, fresh in for Westport, pushes them 3 points ahead. It's the biggest lead they've had in the game. It equals the lead, in fact, they had in the 29th minute. They've never been further than 3 up.
No.
But they're in that position now again.
But it's a huge margin in the way this game has been played. It's Westport's to lose, you feel. They're getting lots of bodies back, and you feel with the likes of Lee Keegan and in particular, and Rory Brickenden, that they will shore up the defence. And I think if they nullify the goal threat from Mitchels, they should be safe enough to see this home.
Well, as we mentioned, they haven't been to a county senior final for 31 years. This scoreline at the moment is reminiscent of the early 90s, late 80s. It's been so low scoring, defences on top, and that's a very clever piece of defending there by Fionn McDonough, who just nipped in to pick the pocket of Paul Welch. Now though, Westport may be playing a little too much football here in their own defence. Tidied up by Brian O'Malley, back to his namesake Paddy, and Paddy O'Malley takes no chances, gets it away to Luke Tunney, always open and available and a willing outlet for ball. Mitchels with just 2 points to show for their efforts in this second half. It was the big fear coming in, John, that they would struggle to score. Haven't hit more than 12 points all through the championship, and right now it looks like it'll be the main reason why they'll exit in 10 minutes time.
And that was the talk in the town all week, that they just didn't have sufficient potency in their attack, and as it transpired, they're struggling in that department for sure.
Just over 6 minutes to go. Can Mitchels manufacture a goal, their first of the championship? Can they find 3 points to push this game perhaps to extra time? Paddy Durkin tries to inject some pace into this move, cuts back onto his right, and Paddy Durkin is back in business. It's taken him a while, it's taken him a lot longer than he'd like, but he hits the target and leaves it 10-8.
Yeah, I mean, Paddy is class, like one of the best in the business, and he just injected a bit of pace, and for the first time managed to, knife through the heart of that Westport defence that's been so strong throughout this game. But quite enough by his standard was, he just... that's a brilliant score from Mitchels for sure. Great score from Paddy. Another
very quick kick out by Westport, and they're on the move. Keegan to Alan Kennedy. Well, Alan Kennedy came in off the bench to make an impact, and that's what he's done. 2 points. That's his first from play, and he salutes the score with a pump fist to the crowd as Westport kick for home. They lead by 3, 5 minutes to go.
That's a huge score. I mean, another talent, as you say, when you have that kind of ability and class off the bench. Alan Kennedy has made a huge difference. He's lively, but that kick was kicked with such confidence and authority. He knew exactly what to do, and he split the post with a very good score.
But it's starting now to get away from Mitchels as Ultan O'Reilly plays a 1-2 with Connor Stenson, also who's come in off the bench, pays his way with a fine score on the run. Maybe reminds Barry Moore and Neil Lydon why he possibly should have started, but it's 11-9 now.
Well, we're after having 2 scores in the space of a minute there, and that's the best bit of football we've had all afternoon. But it just proved the talent and the quality is there if they just come out and express themselves. But unfortunately, both teams have played such conservative football that has been rather boring at times. But 2 good scores here, and a very good score from Connor.
Oisin McLaughlin uses his pace there just when he needed it. It's of course one of the great luxuries you have when you're Oisin McLaughlin, isn't it, John? When you're in a tight corner, you just move it into 6th, and you get out of it again. Yeah,
he's been quite, I have to say, by his standards. Against Gary Moore, he put in a huge performance, 5 points on that occasion. But he's been rather quiet this afternoon. But as you say, there's buckets, and he's oozes class, and he's great pace, and he's a quality footballer. I've been hugely impressed with him in this year's championship so far.
So Westport right now with 1 foot in the county senior final, but they're not there yet. Manny, a slip between lip and cup, as they say. That's high on Killian Kilkelly. Declan Corcoran plays the advantage, and it might just work out. Niall McManaman on the run. Fahy's after him. Here is Oisin McLaughlin. He got a nudge. He went over. Nothing doing, though, in terms of a free. Not for Westport anyway. In fact, it's a free out. And that did look like a free in.
Oh, it did. For sure. That certainly looked like a free in. Declan Corcoran, in fairness to him, was right up with the play, but it certainly looked like he got a nudge in the back.
So Mitchels play the whistle. Joe Toohey to the brother Bob, looking for Ultan O'Reilly coming on the burst, but Liam Shevlin got his body in the way. He's worked hard, Liam Shevlin, the man who has stepped into the boots of Joe Grady and hasn't put a foot wrong. That's a crunching tackle from Brian O'Malley on the man down here in front of us, I'm not sure, is it Bob Toohey that got the hit? No, it's not, but it was a big hit from Brian O'Malley, and he's all there, and the play will be stopped now just to allow the Mitchels man receive attention.
Yeah, I'm just watching the body language of Barry Moran down there. He's a frustrated figure because, you know, Mitchels have had some great attacks just and then stupid turnovers, and on that occasion again another bad turnover when they were pressing for a score. But Barry certainly very frustrated.
That was Ulton O'Reilly actually, who was down and injured. 2 minutes to go, 4 minutes of additional time. Maths was never my strong point, John, but I make that 6 minutes. It's going to be an awfully long 6 minutes for Westport.
Oh, it is, yeah. But I mean, as I say, Mitchells are pressing right now, but you would expect, though, with Lee Keegan anchoring there at 6 and Rory Brickenden, that they should be smart enough to see at home. But 2 points ahead. Certainly Mitchells are coming out and pressing now.
Brian McDermott, where does he get his energy? He is absolutely flying, and we're an hour into the county semi-final in testing conditions. Paul Lambert isn't moving too badly either, or Fionn McDonough. Westport, as you'd imagine, are finishing like a train, as befitting a team coached and trained and managed by Shane Conway and Martin Connolly, as the shot from Paul Lambert is hit under pressure, up into the air, gathered by Rory Byrne, and Mitchells come sweeping down the field again. Well, it's all very simple at this stage. If Westport can stay ahead, they go to the county final in 2 weeks' time against Ballina Stephenites. If the Mitchells could nick it, well, they will be back here in a fortnight. The clock is ticking. Ball's been turned over. Conditions now very greasy. We're in the last minute of normal time. Loose pass out of the Westport defence. Won back by Bob Toohey. Here's Mark Cunningham. Cunningham shoots. It clips the post and it's gone over the bar. 11-10. Mitchell's edge a little closer. In comes Shane Scott for Westport. Well, one way or another, John Mahan, we're getting the grandstand finish.
Yeah, what a shame we didn't have this kind of intensity and sparkle earlier on or throughout the game. But yeah, it's really livened up. It's a shame there's only a couple of minutes left, because for the first time in this game, we have an element of excitement.
Well, Mitchells have hit 2 points in a row. In fact, they've hit 3 of the last 4. Paddy Durkin, Connor Stenson and Mark Cunningham. Those 3 points have brought them right back into the game. And Westport just almost playing with our emotions, playing with their supporters' emotions certainly, because the first of 4 minutes of additional time has just started as Rory Byrne comes out to play right half back to sit in for the kick out to try and shut off a few options for Paddy O'Malley. O'Malley goes over the press. He's looking for the sub, Shane Scott, who's just come in, but he went too long. And the ball is gone out over the line, but in fact it was pushing anyway, and Mitchells have a free.
I think actually Declan Corcoran is bringing that up, because the Westport man kicked it out over the sideline up into the stand, and he's brought the ball forward about 40 metres.
Well, Westport's 3-point lead is back to 1, and Mitchells are still in with more than a fighting chance. They're still in with a really good chance. Ball is in the hands of Ethan Gibbons, the man they'd want. He goes long, spilled by Paddy O'Malley. Down goes Mark Cunningham. It's going to be a penalty, is it? Declan Corcoran isn't too sure. Declan Corcoran is going in to speak to the umpire. Well, this is a massive decision now that Declan Corcoran has to make. Did he fall or was he pushed?
This isn't quite incredible, and it looks certainly if he's doing anything, it has to be a penalty. Well, he blew his whistle. This is amazing.
Well, we're in the 32nd minute, and it is a penalty. Well, you really couldn't make it up. Westport 3 points up and looking like they had kicked for home. Mitchells have it back to 1, and they now have a penalty in additional time to go in front. And it's Ethan Gibbons who's handed the responsibility. Paddy O'Malley in the Westport goal. This could well win the county semi-final. It's a rocket. It's a bullet. Ethan Gibbons has done it again. He has seized the moment. He has drilled home Castlebar Mitchell's first goal of Championship 2022 after more than 5 hours of football. And the Mitchells, the outsiders, they lead with just a couple of minutes to go, and Westport are on the ropes.
It's incredible. I could not have foreseen this with a couple of... in fact, I said it. I have to take it all back. I could not have foreseen Mitchels being in this position. They're going to take a couple of black cards, one suspect here. This is the first, I'd say. Yeah, second yellow. I thought it might have been black from Ethan Gibbons, but... this is quite incredible. I see Barry Moore remonstrating down there, getting every Mitchels player in the place back into a defensive unit. But quite remarkable.
Well, Ethan Gibbons has just been sent off on a second yellow. Mitchels will finish with 14 men as Westport chase a winning goal, or the 2 points they need to force extra time. Ball breaks on the edge of the Mitchell square. Paul Welsh goes down on it. It's still not cleared. It's pulled on by Shane Scott. Now Killian Kilkelly. This is Conal Dawson. Scott again goes low. It's a goal! Shane Scott has buried it in the back of the net. Are back in front. Well, the old dog for the hard road, and Shane Scott, one of the great Westport warriors, has swung that left boot of his and crashed the ball to the back of the net, and it's all over. Oh, what a finish. A game that only came to life literally in the last few minutes with two late goals. The first from a penalty from Ethan Gibbons that looked like it had won it in the most dramatic of fashion for Mitchels, and then Westport come back down the field, and Shane Scott is the hero of the hour, and Westport come good. They're back in a county final for the first time in 31 years, and it is heartbreak for Castlebar Mitchels.
Oh, I've never witnessed such drama. I mean, Mitchels are absolutely distraught, bodies on the ground. Barry Moore has his hands over his eyes. He cannot believe it. Yeah, I mean, look, I think Westport deserve it. They played that little bit better, but it looked like Mitchels had robbed it, had stolen it in the last minute in dramatic fashion with that Ethan Gibbons penalty. But quite remarkably, with huge numbers back, Shane Scott managed to pull a bullet from inside in the small square to the roof of the net. Quite remarkable. That bit of excitement that we so craved for throughout the game, we had to wait until the 62nd or 63rd minute to get it. But yeah, it was, by the standards and the quality of footballers around display here today, it was a poor enough a game. But as I say, thank God we had a little bit of drama at the end just to create that little bit of excitement.
John, if you can, cast your mind back to that last move, that last play. How impressive were you? How impressed were you with Westport, the way they created the chance and the way Scott finished it? And from a Castlebar perspective, how did they not keep it out?
It's incredible. I mean, rarely do you see with such numbers back. Mitchels had got 15 men behind it. Well, 14. Ethan Gibbons had sucked the second yellow card, and he had just been sent off. A man loose on the far side, a Westport player. They got a free out to him. He pulled the trigger, a scud into around the parallelogram, a bit of ping pong. It was floating around the place, and somehow Shane Scott got his hands on the ball and rifled a pile driver to the back of the net. Quite incredible. Yeah, it's just amazing. Westport supporters around me couldn't believe it, and neither could Castlebar Mitchels. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame because it's a shame we had to wait for that drama to the very end, because for long periods of this game, both of us were quite bored with the affair that was on display. We were expecting so much more from two quality sides, but unfortunately it never lived up to the expectation that we were expecting a crack of a game with such quality. It never really lived up to the expectations. But I think overall Westport just about deserve it. Mitchell's played a very defensive, cagey style of football, and but you know, hung right in there. Just Westport couldn't just shake them off, and then we had that late drama. But yeah, Westport haven't done anything to enhance the reputation here. I think Ballina, on the basis of what we saw here today, will fancy their chances. They have a big, strong physical unit, particularly around the midfield sector. But yeah, interesting final for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be some final. Ballina Stephenites against Westport back here at Hastings Insurance McKill Park in 2 weeks' time. I'm absolutely fascinated to hear who John Maughan will pick for man of the match in a few moments. But just before we get there, John, I've just seen Barry Moore and Neil Lydon walking off the field there. You've been there. You know what those sort of emotions are like. When Ethan Gibbons held his nerve so brilliantly for a 23-year-old to bury that penalty, I mentioned it earlier, Mitchels hadn't scored a goal in the entire championship. In goes the penalty, deep in stoppage time to put them ahead. It looks like they're going to smash and grab and win. To have that snatched away from you then with the last kick of the game. Look, Mitchels have come a long way in a short space of time, but this is still a massive, massive blow to Barry and Neil and their team.
It is, but I'll be honest, I didn't expect Mitchels to get this far in the championship. I thought the best football they played was against the double county champions Knockmore. Knockmore looked like a tired, laboured team this year after winning the last two county titles. They were really, really impressive on that occasion. But here today, they certainly had a great opportunity with that last minute. Well, there was 2 or 3 minutes left, obviously. But I would expect that they were home and hosed at that stage. 2 points up. You just felt if they didn't concede the goal, of course they would have won it. But it's quite incredible with all the bodies they had back there. But slippy enough conditions, as I said, the ball was ping-ponging around the place. But Shane Scott just, I suppose, closed his eyes and pulled the trigger. It was a bomb, a scud. There was no stopping it. But Westport just about. But as I say, Ballina, to me, looked like they possibly will be favourites on the basis and the evidence of what we've seen in the championship to date.
Last word on Westport, John. When you win a game like this, you're favourites to win the title, you're raging hot favourites to win the semi-final, and you win it the way they won it. They will be walking on air tonight, though, won't they? This will do wonders for their confidence.
Oh, it will, because they went through every emotion there with 2 or 3 minutes to go. The Westport bench, their management down here, cut 2 or 3 of them on the sideline, looked like very frustrated figures because they were in control right throughout the game. I never fancied Mitchels to lead at any stage, and they had, from my perspective, they hadn't a chance of winning the game. But I was proven wrong with that penalty. But yeah, Westport will be bubbling after that. They got out of jail. There's no question about it. And there'll be an air of excitement and anticipation and expectation back in Westport town tonight, and their first county final in 31 years. And I think on the basis of what I've seen, they were hugely impressive against Bantorber. They've mixed performances throughout the championship. Today they weren't brilliant, but they're in the county final, and if they can get that half forward line in particular motoring, they didn't. I thought Phil McDonough was very, very effective going down the home stretch in the second half. Lee Keegan, of course, with those 2 points in the first half, he injected huge pace into proceedings. He's real quality. They have a lot of quality, and they have options off the bench as well, which is encouraging for them. But I tell you, I'm just watching them here traipse off the field. They're mightily relieved, and they all look it.
Yeah, there will be great celebrations in Ballina and Westport tonight. They're through to the county final. John, your last act for the day. Who's your man of the match?
It's quite difficult in what was for long periods an ordinary game of football to watch. There was no real excitement in the last few minutes, but I thought Kevin Kane, his first start in this year's championship was very effective for them for about 45 minutes. And Paul Lambert kicked 3, 2 from play, was quite good. But I think Brian McDermott, a centre half back, caught my eye today. He was really, really effective. Very good centre half back. Played really well for Westport, and I just about deserves man of the match, I feel.
John, thank you so much. That's it from John Maughan and I for this afternoon, after a breathtaking finish to the second Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship semi-final. We'll be back to do it all over again on Mayo GATV in a couple of weeks' time. Hope you enjoyed our coverage. Until then, take care.